This is a movie that is going to rock you to your core. Hey, I'm Amy, and welcome or welcome back. I am going to be talking about the Oscar nominated for Best Picture and Best Director and Best Supporting Actor and a couple other things. I think BlacKkKlansman, it is directed by Spike Lee and it stars John David Washington, Adam Driver, and a lot of other people, most notably, I keep wanting to say it's Tobey Maguire, but it's not. Topher Grace. I don't know, I mean, I know why I get Topher Grace and Tobey Maguire mixed up. They look very similar, but yeah, this film is, it's another one of those that I think there are three really big films that are nominated for something for the Oscars this year. It's one of the two that I'm reviewing for Best Picture that are focused a lot on racism in America. They are centered around the same time, the 1970s era, I want to say. Yeah, there is Green Book, which I have already done a video on. There's also If Beale Street Could Talk, which is not nominated for a whole lot, but Regina King is nominated for Best Supporting Actress. And I think that this film handles, at least, well, BlacKkKlansman and If Beale Street Could Talk handle racism a lot better in my eyes than Green Book did. If you did not watch my review of Green Book, I was not a huge fan of that film. And not for all of the controversy stuff, I just was not a huge fan of the way the story was, and it was just kind of a boring, safe film. But looking at that film and looking at this one and at If Beale Street Could Talk, I feel like the former two, the two that I just mentioned, is it latter or is it former? I don't know. But the other two versus Green Book is really, like, it really stands out as a film made by white people, for white people, to make white people feel better about themselves. Even if there is that line that I really like from Mahershala Ali's character pointing out the fact that white people will ask a black person to play the piano for them like this. They'll pay him to play the piano for them and they'll treat him like royalty when he is playing, but as soon as he's done playing, they go back to their just racist ways. They don't really care at all about him just because of the color of his skin. Where in Beale Street and BlacKkKlansman, it is very focused on fighting through it. It is very more subtle in If Beale Street Could Talk, even though one of the main characters is in jail because of the color of his skin, but it really is mostly the relationship between the two main characters and how Tish and her family are trying to get Fonnie out of jail. But overall, there are a lot of stereotypes in that film that really show what it was like to be a black person in America, anywhere in the United States, which is shown in Green Book, but it comes off as a feel-good film, whereas BlacKkKlansman and Beale Street, there is true emotion in there and you feel all the emotion. And in the case of BlacKkKlansman, it is just very up and in your face about it because it is written, two of the four writers, I believe, plus the author of the book that this is based on, John David Washington's character, the actual Ron Stallworth. So 3 out of 5, more than half of the writers of this film are black. They know what it's like. Some of them have lived through this stuff. They're still living through it today because, like Spike Lee shows in this film, things like this still happen today. At the very end, he shows real actual footage from Charlottesville from a couple years ago. I broke down crying when I saw that just because of how powerful and emotional it is that he put this in at the very end, especially after a really big scene in the film that is very powerful to the viewers, and it was something that was building up throughout the entire thing. The suspense of, will it happen? Will it not happen? Will they catch this person in time? It also legitimately gets up and in your face about how horrible these Klan members are and can be. They don't hold back, especially when they are talking to the Flip Ron, played by Adam Driver. They don't hold back on why and who and what they hate. They are just upfront about it, and it hurts. Like, I am not a male, I am not African American, I am a white female, so I am fairly privileged, and it hurt me to watch this. It was just what some of these people suffered was so like horrible, and there's like it upsets me that they're still suffering like this with the Charlottesville footage. And I feel like I didn't get any of that emotion from Green Book. I did feel some of that when I was watching Beale Street, because they show a corrupt cop coming up to Fonny and attacking him for no good reason, and the entire reason that Fonny is in jail is because of a corrupt cop putting him in jail just because of the color of his skin. Another thing that is super powerful in this is the cinematography. It is not nominated for an Oscar, but I absolutely loved it, especially when the real Ron Stallworth starts talking with David Duke. There are these canted angles that just kind of are a little bit jarring after Spike Lee's usual straight-on shots, and it's just this slight turn, and it's very disconcerting, but at the same time, it's kind of funny because of the fact that it's a black guy pretending to be white talking to the leader of everybody who hates white people, especially the white leader of the group that hates black people and Jewish people and pretty much anybody who is not Aryan. And it's what Spike Lee, I feel like, does best. He gives you some really basic cinematography, but at some emotional points or some really important points in the film, he will throw in and make it look a little bit different than what you would expect it to look. And the cinematography, mostly the editing though, in the speech that Harry Belafonte gives, talking about some of the hate crimes that he had lived through in his youth. Not Harry Belafonte, actually, but the character he was playing. They were chilling to the bone, especially being intercut with Flip Ron's initiation into the KKK and seeing how horrible those men can be, and even their wives. And while they're watching Birth of a Nation, and then you hear, like, over all of what's happening, you hear the voiceover from Harry Belafonte's story, and it's just heartbreaking. Oh, and it hurts, and then it's also carried into, again, that Charlottesville footage at the end of the film. The voiceover isn't, but the hurt and the pain that you were feeling from that because of the photographs that they are showing, which I feel like the photographs that they show during Harry Belafonte's story are real photographs of what really happened. Not necessarily in that story maybe, but from similar stories like it, and the clashing, the marrying of the fictional based on a true story with the real world is just haunting because it makes it feel gritty and it makes it feel more real. And this film has Spike Lee's fingerprints all over it, which I love, because Do the Right Thing is one of my favorite films of all time. My favorite thing that he does in both that film and this film is the straight to the camera, breaking the fourth wall, staring straight down the camera when it's just something very, very powerful has just happened or is about to happen. And Spike Lee's biggest inspirations when growing up were blaxploitation films, and I love that he threw in not only references to blaxploitation films said out loud, they were talking about them, but he also had a sequence that was a full-on taken out of a blaxploitation film at the very end. It just felt like something that Spike Lee would do, and it fit in the film, even though it was very much outside of what a lot of this film had been. It felt maybe a little bit more like the entirety of the film felt a lot more like a modern blaxploitation film, whereas this one single shot felt exactly like what a normal like a everyday from the 70s blaxploitation film was like. And finally, let's talk a little bit about the actors. I'm not going to talk too much about Adam Driver because I talked about my thoughts on his performance on a Best Supporting Actor analysis that went up on my Patreon on Saturday. If you want to check that out, you can check it out on my Patreon. But I did enjoy his performance. You kind of hate his character even though you know he's the good guy when he is pretending to be a KKK member. He just says some things, I mean, he's pretending. It's not really him. He's just trying to infiltrate them. He's undercover, but it's still, you can't help but dislike his character a little bit there. But the real standout for me was John David Washington. He is so great. His line delivery is on point. It's whip smart. He comes in with great, like with perfect timing. And I mean, I contribute a lot of that to the writers, but he is definitely Denzel Washington's son. He is going to go on to do great things. Great things. I just kind of wish that he had been nominated for Best Actor because his performance was stellar. And I think that is all I have for BlacKkKlansman. Yeah, I don't know how much else I can say, but let me know your thoughts on BlacKkKlansman in the comments down below. What did you think of it? Did you like this better than Green Book or If Beale Street Could Talk or any of the other Best Picture nominees? Right now, I don't know how much confidence I have that this will win. I would like it to win, but if you want to hear my full predictions, there will be a video up on Saturday with every single prediction that I have for the Oscars. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really truly do appreciate every single one of you. Let me know who you are in the comments down below, and let's be friends. If you enjoyed this, leave a like and subscribe if you're new, because I talk like movies, TV shows, filmmaking, history, all that fun stuff. And I'll see you next time. Bye.